Okay, so got things more or less set up. I found a tool that was included with the lathe. It's I think it's fairly dull, but you know we'll be able to use it. It's only under hand power. Sharper would be better in this case, but we'll see how it goes. Now I'd like to be able to turn between centers, which means that I have the work supported by this tail stock with this live center holding it here, but because of the dynamics of the system I'm not going to be able to do it. There's another part to this lathe. It's called the apron, and it goes out here in front, and it provides the feed back and forth, and I don't have that installed, so I have to use the compound here to move the tool. Okay, not ideal, but you know, hey, it's what we're going with. And you know, you spend this is how you get started. You know, you see these older folks with these amazing shops, and you can be almost guaranteed that once or twice they've had to do something, maybe not exactly this, but something similar enough to it. Now I'm just moving this under power, that power being me, and I'm just taking off a little tiny bit, and I don't know how much that, I don't have the sort of gauge of how big the chip is. It's not really a chip that's coming off, it's more like just like a powdery dust. And as you can see, with this shiny bit of shiny metal, we're getting the job done. Now, I'm not guaranteed that my cut is the same all the way down because of the fact that I'm using the compound, and I have hit it with a square, but you know, we're dealing with a travel of, you know, a couple few inches, so you know, I could be off a little bit. You know, if I'm off 1 degree, you know, that'll start to show. So what I'm doing is I'm using my ears and my eyes to listen to the cut. I'm also using my sense of feeling with how hard it is to turn this spindle, and we're making our cuts slowly but surely, and I'm trying to make sure that it sounds and it feels consistent and it looks consistent. Huh. Do we have a low spot? Do we have, like, what's going on there? You notice how it sounds sort of like an interrupted cut? When I set this compound, I erred on the side of the tool moving away from the work. You notice how it's slowly taking less and less of a cut? And I did that so that I didn't dig myself in. You notice? There we go. We're taking no cut anymore because I wasn't exactly at 90 degrees or perpendicular to it. I was just a little bit off, and that was enough to slowly move me away from the work. So I'll reset this, and I'll get back to you when we're ready to start talking about cutting it off and finishing and stuff like that. Well, what's that saying? An inch an hour, 2 feet a day? Well, about 300 years later, I've made it to the end of my compound travel, so I got to move the carriage here, which I would like to be able to maintain my position and some accuracy, but obviously this is not high precision machine work here. This is just making a pin that needs to get made, and we'll hopefully have some accuracy. Now, this is first chips off of this old lathe from the 30s. that I'm fixing up, and I'm gonna be really glad when I get the motor installed. Jeez, this is a chore. Taking a bit heavier cut now, seems to be giving a better finish. And forward and back, onwards and upwards, almost there. Now, like I said, you could totally do this with a file, and I'll probably finish it with a file or emery cloth, sandpaper, and you know, you could maybe try to do any sort of turny action to it, or just find a nice flat surface, or you know, even just the sandpaper in your hand. You're moving so little. The main thing is that you just want to check yourself as you go. The old check yourself before you wreck yourself sort of situation. And this is more of an experiment than anything for me, because I've never done any hand turning like this. I've done hand turning in woodworking, but I've never had to power the machine myself. I really wish I had a treadle. You know, back in the old days before you know, motors were so common and people having electricity in their houses, you'd have a pedal. You'd push the machine around with your foot, have a big flywheel on it, and here we're going backwards a little bit and try to clean things up. And before that, or even now, I think in some places they power them with their feet sort of sitting down, like in India and stuff. And then in the olden days, or you know, you can still build them now. You have something called a spring pole lathe, usually used to make like chair legs and stuff. The bodger, which would be the guy making the chair legs, would go live out in the forest, and he would build himself a lathe for wood out there, and it would have a leather strap that would come down and around the workpiece, and it would have a big spring pole, or like think of it like a sapling, but it's a little more than a sapling, just sort of a springy piece of wood that would have that leather on the end of it, and he would stomp on it, and the work would actually go back and forth like this. Alright, well, this is the original one. It's all hoopa-jooped, and this is the new one. I filed by hand some like a flat in there, so it would be easier to get the tap started.